I am 19 years old, studying at university. I live alone in a rented apartment with my cat Chacha. In our neighborhood, the houses are built opposite each other, so from any window of my apartment, you can see the apartment of the main characters of my story. They are a very nice family. I went to school with their older daughter Hannah, and her younger 3-year-old sister Jane is hearing impaired, very hearing impaired. I often saw Hannah walking with her sister in the yard. One such day she complained that the downstairs neighbor, whom her parents shunned because she was rumored to be a witch, came and complained that Jane's loud music was keeping her awake, even though it was only 8 o'clock in the evening. I told Hannah that she could bring Jane to my house anytime, and I would sit with her and watch cartoons all evening. My neighbors almost always work at night. But Hannah refused, saying she wasn't afraid of any neighbors. That was the last conversation I had with her. In the evening, as usual, I was sitting watching TV. Chacha was lying next to me. It was July, so all the windows in the apartment were open. From the window of the house across the street, I could hear the familiar music from the cartoon Jane was watching. I was already starting to fall asleep when suddenly the music stopped abruptly, and the light in the windows of the neighbor's apartment went out. I walked over to the window. There was no sound, no movement. The apartment was plunged into darkness. My heart for some reason began to beat so fast that I felt it beating in my throat. I stood staring at the black windows. A loud shout of
"Run!"
brought me back to reality. I realized it was Hannah's father shouting. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. It started ringing. I could hear the phone ringing in the neighbor's apartment. Then the phone was picked up, and I heard a hoarse, angry voice say something incomprehensible. Some kind of mumbling. I hung up the phone in horror. I didn't know what to do. The first thing that came to mind was to call the police. With trembling hands I dialed the number.
"Police, we are listening to you,"
came from the speaker, but then a cat caught my attention. It was staring into the darkness of the corridor with dilated pupils. I felt some movement, gradually approaching me. At that moment the light went out. I shrieked, dropped the phone, grabbed Chacha and rushed to the corner of the room. I sat in the dark corner, huddled against the cat, not knowing what to expect. My heart was pounding with terror, my blood frozen in my veins. It was a moment I'll never forget. And right at me was something unknown and frightening. It was something very large, and as it got closer, I saw that it was an old woman with long black hair that dragged across the floor. I squeezed my eyes shut with fear. I smelled the damp earth and something cold touched my hand. And then I couldn't stand it anymore, pushed Chacha away, grabbed a stool, awkwardly hit the creepy creature with it, and ran out to the landing, where I rang the neighbor's doorbell. For about 5 minutes I couldn't explain anything to the surprised neighbor. Other neighbors came out and called the police. When Chacha, scared half to death, ran out from behind the open door of my apartment and jumped into my arms, I fell down and lost consciousness. I woke up in the hospital. For a long time no one told me what had happened to Hannah and her family. Only later did I find out that she and her father had been found in the kitchen. Both had died of a heart attack. Later, a neighbor added that Hannah and her father were completely mutilated, and the door was locked from the outside, with nail cuts on it. Hannah's mother, along with Jane, was found a day later 2 miles outside of town. They were sitting at the railroad station in a miserable state. When the police arrived, the first thing she said was, "I ran away."